Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review Season 1 of Apple TV Plus's Dear Edward. And this is a new drama series and created by Jason Katims and based on the novel by Ann Napolitano, and this focuses on a 12-year-old boy who is the only survivor of a plane crash and how he's processing along with those loved ones left by those who passed away. And this first season is 10 around 50-minute episodes focusing on the lives of those left. And really at the core of it, Edward, played by Colin O'Brien, is the main character. He is the one processing the most, and I think his story is the most interesting. And as you slowly move away from his stories become a little less interesting. His story of him trying to process losing his father and mother and brother, his dynamic with his best friend, the dynamic that he has with his brother's girlfriend, and trying to process those feelings and trying to understand that while processing loss and trying to process his survival. And he has his aunt, Lacey, played by Taylor Schilling, who is constantly trying to figure out how to support him while also dealing with the ramifications this is having on her own marriage. Then you get into the likes of Connie Britton's character, Dee Dee, whose husband had this completely separate life that she's uncovering in the aftermath of his death. You have a young politician who's a legacy politician. You have honestly, the more you keep going out, there's so many storylines and how they're all threaded together, but they're all brought together in this support group. And I think the support group idea is interesting, and I think those scenes are moving and compelling, at least compared to a lot of it. I feel like this series is trying to balance too much and trying to look too much into each of these different stories when it could have just been focusing more on the main narratives that we have, or even just a couple of them, the ones that make a bigger impact. But in general, this series also is extremely melodramatic. It's really trying to hit a home run. It's like, I'm going to knock your emotions out of the park. And it's just trying too hard. We get it. There's a lot of tragedy here. And they could have just lived in that grief and the challenges of it, but it just keeps trying to force even more emotion out of it. And it feels just overdone and overbearing at times. And over the course of these 10 episodes, there's definitely storylines where it's just do I really care about this? Do I feel invested in this? Why does this matter compared to some of these other ones that are really hitting their stride and delivering some emotional poignancy? This series is a series of different characters trying to process their own grief and loss, and also trying to deal with a variety of different issues, like the challenge of trying to make a relationship work while trying to run for a campaign, the challenges of being in love with somebody who's betrothed to another, or being somebody who's closeted and feeling stuck and not being able to express the real sexuality, and all those kinds of stories. There could be so much to dig into, but you're only getting surface level things because you're trying to do too much. And for the storylines that do get really fleshed out, of course, specifically Edward's, I think this series works. A lot of the other ones, it's trying too hard to force a lot of different ideas and stories and themes into this series, and it makes it unfocused and a challenge to really dig in and feel as connected. Films and series have been able to do those things and get us truly invested in many different storylines. This one struggles, and it also struggles to avoid feeling that schmaltzy kind of overly dramatic feel and trying too hard to manipulate the audience. But those are my thoughts on Season 1 of Dear Edward. Let me know what you think, and let's talk some TV. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland Reviewer.